Hi there, welcome back to the channel. So I've been messing around with my 2x12 with my Marshall 18 watt head. This is a GDS 18 watt Marshall head. I typically connect it to my 4x12, which is loaded with a G12H30 and an Alnico Blue, and then I have the warehouse equivalents. So I have 4 speakers in there. 2 of them are Celestion, 2 of them are warehouse, and the whole thing, for whatever reason, I guess the warehouse has a more modern, kind of faster tone, and the Celestions have the original British tone. They're still very similar, just, you know, little different basket construction stuff. Both speakers are excellent, and the whole cabinet sounds amazing. I love it. But it does not fit into the trunk of my car. And sometimes I like to be able to throw this baby in. And I played a lot of stages where the 4x12 was just inconvenient. There just wasn't enough room, literally not enough physical space. It's a place in Athens, Georgia like that was just so small. And then, you know, play a lot of house parties. And a lot of times, you know, the 4x12 is so loud, even though it's just an 18 watt amp. So I got this 2x12, which is very convenient. I can put it in my, trunk. And it looks cool, it's small, but it sounds really good. It does not sound as good as the 4x12, has less bass and just less sound, but it's darn good, and I'm pleased with it. Inside of it is the Marshall GT12, it's a 12-inch, the GT65, or I think it's the 75 is in there, maybe the 85, GT85, I'm not sure. But those are the typical speakers you find in Marshalls. Most people dislike them. But the ones that were made in Britain back in the day, those can sound really good, especially if they're broken in really well. So I have one of those, and then one of them blew out, and it was replaced by a Eminence red coat ceramic driver, not an Alnico. So I have no Alnico speakers in this. 2 ceramic drivers. It sounds pretty good, but I've always been like, this sounds so good, 4x12, that I was sort of judgmental of the 2x12, and I wasn't quite sure why, but it breaks up faster in a way that I don't like as much because it's only 2 speakers. I guess so it's more efficient ultimately, or less efficient, and less powerful, and the speaker drivers themselves are not as good. If I had 2 Celestions in there that were the ones I want, the G12H30 and an Alnico Blue, for instance, I think it would sound even better and comparable to this, with maybe a little less bass and a little less, maybe a little nastier, you know, bark a little bit more instead of sounding as refined as the 4x12. But there was something else missing, not just the drivers. I don't love the Eminence driver in there. I would definitely switch that out, but it's okay. And I didn't want to go and buy 2 more expensive drivers and just have all these drivers already over here. I already have 4 of them. I don't know, just kind of run with what you brung on this. Just having those in there. It's a big pain to take them out too. You got to take all the screws off the back, unscrew the speakers, put the new speakers in, and I'll have to sell those drivers or maybe keep one for a backup, you know. So I just haven't been in the mood. It's a lot of money and a lot of effort for, you know, a subtle change on a live cab that I don't play that much. I never record with it. I only take it out to play for saving space. But there was something that kind of slightly bothers me about the cab that's past the driver, the speaker choice, and that is the way the sound disperses out of it. So the 4x12 feels very, you know, beamy, but not overly beamy. Like, to me, the 4x12, I know it wasn't much of a design. Like the slanted 4x12, from what I understand, is not much of a design. It was just trying to get 4 speakers in there so that Pete Townsend and Jimi Hendrix and Jeff Beck could play really loudly, you know, Led Zeppelin. That's why. But I don't know that there was tons of, like, you know, math going on, like you see with really complicated more advanced speaker designs, you know, speaker cabinets that have all sort of, you know, avoiding resonant humps and peaks and whatnot, and, you know, folded horns and blah, blah, blah. It goes on for days. So I don't know that there was a huge design philosophy with either one of these, but they, for whatever reason, work and sound great. The only thing that I'm kind of weirded out about by the 2x12 is the way the sound kind of comes out of the sides. And I don't know if anybody else has recognized that. I've tried to look it up and see what other people say, and I think maybe that's what they say. I can't remember. But it feels to me like the 4x12 just feels perfect to my ears, like it just delivers. I know it's directional and kind of beamy, but when I'm in front of it, it just sounds right. This one, it feels like that one feels like the sound emanates like from a circle around it in a perfect radius, if I could describe what I'm picturing. Whereas this one, it feels like as soon as I start playing, the sound is kind of flaming out the sides. Like it's almost like the sound's coming out these sound holes. And these are known to rattle, so you have to really tighten these down or you can get some rattle. Because this thing was actually rattling like crazy when I first got it. A bunch of stuff was loose on it, like just baffle, and the speakers were actually loose. Both speakers were loose on the baffle, probably from weather shifting and whatnot and just sitting around for a long time. But when I tightened them up, all the rattle went away. But it just feels like the sound shoots out the sides. Let's just listen really quickly. I'll just play it. I don't think anyone's going to get anything out of this as far as like critical listening, like that. There's the difference. Oh, I hear that. Okay, that's subtle, but I hear it. I haven't mic'd it up. I'm not using any expensive recording gear and doing a separate sound mix. This is just the camera mic. But I'm hoping that something is picked up, and less concerned with what you're hearing, just trusting me and my ears in the room, but also perhaps your reactions to your cabinet at home, like in your space when you're out playing shows or getting ready to record. What experience are you having? Do you have any of this experience that this being on its side with just the two speakers gives a kind of strange delivery that does not sound as good as the 4x12, which is what's got me wondering about flipping it on its side. So let's just listen to it in this, I guess this would be considered the horizontal position, and I'll just play a couple things on my V, and we'll just leave this guitar alone. I'll just play a couple things to show you what I'm talking about. It feels like the sound shoots out the sides. All right, here we go. This. That moment right there, I can really tell. It's like the sound almost like goes like that. Like instead of the perfect circle that I was talking about emanating from the 4x12, the sound sounds a little erratic. So I'm going to flip it on its side. I guess that would be vertical orientation, and we will see if there's any like noticeable difference right off the bat. Now I'm not going to A, B, and put the clips together where you could kind of tell, because I just think it will be so subtle anyway. But I'm just wondering if somebody else has had this experience, and I'm going to see what happens if I hear it when I flip it over, just playing something similar to that. But I'm hoping for just some feedback from people to see if this is something that they've experienced as well. So let me just flip this over. I'll be right back. Okay, so I flipped it over, and the first thing you notice is it's aesthetically kind of weird. It's like a T now. The head does not fit on it, as proper as it does when it's on its proper orientation. The head actually fits on there perfectly, and this is a smaller box head. It's not like the size of like a 50 or 100 watt. It might be the size of a 50 watt. but it does fit on there, and it has a kind of an interesting aesthetic with the Marshall thing going to the side. But I just plugged it in and listened, and right away my ears like it better. It just sounds more focused, you know, like you're hearing the speakers in a proper configuration. I don't know why, I have no idea. And somebody else can tell me, and they may say no, that they like it the other way. And I don't know that you'll be able to tell from my demo, but I'm hoping that me doing this will spark some discussion from those that have had experience with it. Maybe, hopefully it'll pop up on YouTube. I don't have that many people that watch the channel, so I don't know how big of a reach it'll get, but I don't know, maybe. It seems like some of these tech videos make their way to people that have the same interests, and you know, there's a cool discussion. I learned something from it. All right, so just listen to how this sounds now. I don't know if it's obvious from this video, but to me it's very obvious to my ears that this is superior. It sounds more focused. I don't get that side bleed. Gone. Side bleed is gone. And suddenly I'm hearing the speaker drivers in a way that makes me think they're not bad at all, and that there's not much of a purpose besides, you know, getting one little tweak. And it's nice to have a different sound. This one already has those speakers. This one sounds a little different. It's okay. But I think this is actually a massive difference in tone. I don't know if you can tell at all, and these clips are going to be far apart, and I don't think there's any point in me trying to edit them together and say, look at this A, B. You know, I don't think you'll hear that. But I think if you go from thing to thing, you can tell a difference. One sounds, it's not louder, more focused, and I think perhaps a little more clarity. Like something about it being this way creates some frequency garbage that starts to make the sound less focused. That's what I think is the difference. It doesn't sound as focused when it's on its normal orientation on the side. Try the neck pickup. That is a little spot right there that I always struggle with on this guitar, but sounds better now. to say that for me, this orientation makes this cabinet way, way better. I mean, it just sounds better. It doesn't have that irritating quality that it had for me where it sounded loose, and I was thinking it was the speakers, and I now realize that the speakers are fine. It was for me, it's the orientation that was creating that extra sound that I found distracting and loose. It's like a little lawnmower tone. You know, it's like this rumble that was emanating from the side. It's hard to describe, but I'm hoping with my small following right now that there's enough people that have had this experience, or maybe somebody will punch it up or something, and somebody will chime in and tell me what they think and see if they've had a similar experience, because I find it interesting that placement matters that much, you know, on something like this, and makes you wonder how much how much of a design there really is. You know, it's just like a box with speakers in it. All right, next time.